Okay, our next speaker will be Vaughn Hunter. Vaughn has been part of union organizing drives for two previous workplaces. He is an active member of the Revolutionary Student Union at U of U and on the Labor Committee.
Thank you. All right, first off, I'd just like to request that we stand up and be as loud as we possibly can and make our voices, I know we're small, but we can be loud. All right. I'd like to start off by saying 2011 has been a crazy year. I think it's really left the world to never be the same. So I'd like to start off by saying to our brothers and sisters in the Middle East, in with democracy, out with dictators, and including and especially the U.S. And with the tragedy that's recently happened in Japan, I think it would be more tragic if we don't learn once and for all to stop relying on nuclear energy. All right. But to start off what we're talking about today, I'd like to send out a loud message from the working class to people like Governor Walker, Governor Herbert, and the Koch brothers, and imperialists alike. And I'd like to steal a quote from Tyler Durden in saying that the people that you are after are the people that you depend on. We are the ones that cook your meals, we haul your trash, we connect your calls, we drive your ambulances, and we guard you while you sleep. Do not fuck with us. Because we know the truth. We know that this budget crisis is really about the 140 million tax breaks for the rich. We know that Governor Walker and our governor and our legislative representatives across the country should not only be impeached, but imprisoned for their acts of tyranny. To steal a quote from Thomas Jefferson, he said, "When the government is feared, or when the people fear the government, there is tyranny. How is Walker not a tyrant?" Come on! And it's important to understand this fear that they're talking about in that quote. When Wall Street deliberately destroyed the economy for monetary wealth, who went to jail?
No one!
And what did we do about it?
Nothing!
So at this point, I'd say by the recent actions of our government, it is proven that they believe that we are afraid of them. Is that true?
No!
Then where is our collective bargaining rights in our public sector? And what is this right to work bullshit where they can hire and fire at their discretion? Because of this right to work, we on average annually make $5,000 less a year. We have less health care, we have higher poverty, and more workplace deaths.
Right to start.
So Wisconsin has made it known, whose house is it? So whose house is it?
Our house!
If we as a working class can only comprehend the power that we hold, we can have our dreams of democracy become our reality. To finish Thomas Jefferson's quote, he said that when the government is feared by the people, there is liberty. And I say we make our government tremble. But beyond labor, I think it's important that we have a sound understanding of what exactly our government stands for. And the genesis of our country, and the 10-year gap between the Declaration of Independence to our Constitution, the rhetoric has somehow changed from the pursuit of happiness to the pursuit of private property. That tells me that our government stands for one thing and one thing only: profit motive. And it is by profit motive that we pay our farmers to burn our crops while billions die of starvation every year. It is because of profit motive that we have countless numbers of skyscrapers empty at night while millions are forced to sleep in the snow. It is because of profit motive that we have 40 million plus Americans that are uninsured, and out of that 40 million are 10 million children. It is because profit motive that our doctors can go and work for the insurance companies and make more money by denying life-saving surgeries than to actually perform them. Well, you know what I mean. And it is old men that send young men to war for profit and power alone.
Send the old men to war.
Yeah, let's send the old men to war. Let's see. Yeah, let's send no man to war, right? Kind of lost my spot here, sorry. But I think it's very important that we understand that democracy comes from the bottom up, not the other way around. I think the best example of this is by a quote by Abraham Lincoln in the early parts of the Civil War. The man who freed the slaves, he said this: "If I can save the Union without freeing a single slave, I will." On the opposite end of things, Barack Obama said, if there is an attack on labor, I'll put on my tennis shoes and I'll stand in the strike line with the workers. And I say we go buy that man a pair of sneakers. But in reality, we know where he stands at the end of the day. And I think we should also understand where the Wisconsin Democratic senators have been slashing our democratic and labor rights all along. It was the 100,000 workers that stood outside their window that caused them to leave. Just as it wasn't Abraham Lincoln who freed the slaves, it was the slaves who freed the slaves. And it was because of women that we have women's rights today. And it was... we have the New Deal today not because of Roosevelt, because of the overwhelming pressure that labor gave to him. And it was the blacks who led the civil rights, and it was because of the black leadership that we enjoy our civil rights today. But as inspiring and as moving as all these movements are, I've come to the understanding that we're on a stagnant battlefield with temporary solutions as long as we fight within this profit motive system known as capitalism. Capitalism is like a bulldozer that bulldozes over our resources, our environment, and our working class with only top-heavy interests. Until we get to the point now where our top 400 Americans have more collective wealth than our lowest 150 million. Exactly. Capitalism is able to make profits based on what's called bubbles. In the early stages of capitalism, they created bubbles by exploiting countries until we've tapped into every single country and exploited the whole world. At this point, we rely heavily on what's called disaster capitalism, where we rely on natural disasters and and we've been in war at least since the 1940s nonstop. Let's see. And this system is going to continue at this point until it's completely exhausted itself, until we have no foundation left, until we have what was the Great Recession 100-fold more. So I ask you, are we going to let that happen?
No!
All right, I for one am not willing to fight within this capitalist system anymore, and I want to ask, who is with me? All right, so I say we find common ground with our immigrant workers, with our environmentalist activists and other activists that are trying to stop this machine, and that we fight for a government by the people, for the people, not in rhetoric but in action.
Yeah!